guys, welcome back to another episode of Lawyered Up. I am your host Jared Moore, and Lawyered Up is the program where we try to figure out what the heck all these lawyers are doing. I've been a little sick, so if my voice sounds a little wonky, just bear with me. We've got a lot of stuff to go through today, and most of it's just going to be kind of update stuff. So as usual, there is a link in the description of this video to a Google Drive that has all of the relevant legal documents that I'm going to be popping up and talking about, except for the stuff that we'll find on the Creek Nation Supreme Court website. So without further ado, let me go ahead and pop this up and we'll get started. Oh, if you guys have any questions, pop them in the chat. I am not a lawyer, as I always say, but I'll try to answer them as best I can. So let's get started. Got any updates on the bogus Mike Berryhill case? I don't have any updates on that. All right, here we go. So first off, there's been an update on the current docket in the matter of the constitutionality of NCA 24-077. You can see here that at the bottom there is an amended order resetting oral argument, and it is setting the oral argument for February 21st at 10 a.m. via Zoom video conference. And this thing, it's basically the same rules as before. So we're not going to be able to restream it on our channel, but I am going to watch it and then do a live stream where I recap what happened. If you guys want to watch it live, you'll need to go on the day of to the court's Facebook page, and they're going to be streaming it there, but it's only going to be up until the end of the day on that Friday. And then I'm going to do my live stream the same day, but that's just so that we have a record of what happened. Okay, so next up is we're going to go into our Google Drive here, and you guys know we've been following MCN versus City of Tulsa. There has been a stay entered in the case, and it says before the court's parties' joint motion to extend stay, the court finds good cause for extending the stay entered in the case on December 16, 2024. Accordingly, the motion is granted. The case remains stayed until March 18, 2025. So basically, on December 16th, there was a stay granted so both parties, the City of Tulsa and the Mvskoke Creek Nation, can negotiate to try to settle this case. So that's good news. Let's keep going here. What's next? Okay. So at this point, I'm going to talk about, and you guys may have seen this in the news, the Mvskoke Creek Nation and the Department of Justice have filed lawsuits against two district attorneys in Oklahoma. One of them is Iski, and the other one is, what is the other one? The other one is Ballard. So I'm going to talk about it a little bit, but mostly if you watch coverage of it, it'll be one side or the other, either the state of Oklahoma or the district attorneys arguing their point, and then the Mvskoke Creek Nation arguing the other side of that. If you guys have followed any of our coverage on Hooper and everything, you know what the issue is. So I'm going to point out something, though, that hasn't been covered in a lot of this coverage, and which is the impacts on tribal citizens. So what we're going to look at here, if you see here this Wright affidavit, this is an affidavit that's been submitted in the Iski case, where Stephen Wright, who is a tribal member of the Choctaw Nation, has done a sworn affidavit, and he's just telling the court what happened to him as a result of these district attorneys not recognizing the decisions in Hooper and everything else. So he says, I am a tribal member of the Choctaw Nation. I reside within the boundaries of the Chickasaw Reservation. I provide this affidavit in support of holding prosecutors and law enforcement accountable for knowingly acting in their official capacity without jurisdiction against tribal members on an Indian reservation. I further provide this affidavit to show the court that the defendant is, unknowingly, a part of a group of people in law enforcement who refuse to abide by the precedent set by McGirt and Hooper v. Tulsa. I was being prosecuted by the city of Maysville just last month for events alleged to have occurred within the boundaries of the Chickasaw Nation. And then he goes on to describe that he made a motion to dismiss under Hooper v. Tulsa, and the prosecutor wouldn't do it. But I want to read this part here. So this is one of the things that happened to him. The Elmore City Chief of Police arrested me at my house located within the boundaries of the Chickasaw Nation, without probable cause of a crime, without having been called to my home, and without jurisdiction. Despite me repeatedly telling him I was a tribal member, and he refused to wait for Light Horse to arrive to arrest me, in which involved handcuffing me too tight, in which then caused damages to my left wrist, as well as refusing a disability accommodation for my right shoulder for my injuries received during my time in the United States Air Force. I sustained injuries as a direct result of a police agency refusing to accept the jurisdictional boundaries set by the precedent of McGirt involving tribal members on an Indian reservation. I made a police report with Light Horse regarding the above said, and I asked to press charges against the chief of police for assault, and no charges were filed. I have made a separate affidavit detailing those events, and that affidavit is part of the aforesaid police report I made with Light Horse. I say all this because I want the court to understand how much of a problem refusal of law enforcement prosecutors to adhere to the ruling of McGirt is for us tribal members. That those persons impersonating law enforcement of proper jurisdiction are able to assault us, kidnap us, and torture us without accountability. I say there is no accountability because the prosecutors who have jurisdiction to prosecute rogue officers decline to do so. He also goes down here, and this is in the Google Docs, so if you guys want to read the whole thing, he also talks about an issue with child support in Arkansas related to this jurisdictional disagreement. So, but I wanted to point that out because I feel like that's something that a lot of everybody's missing is like the boots on the ground, what's happening to citizens of tribal nations. Let me look here. There's been a lot of... Why doesn't Mvskoke post agendas and notice upcoming meetings, social media accounts, or broadcast their editorial board meetings on the YouTube channel? Well, there isn't... I can ask the editorial board if they want to do that. I don't know if I think they have them by phone conference. So what's up with Michael Hauser MCN gaming theft? Michael Hauser MCN gaming theft I'm going to cover it in a few minutes. It's on the list, and there's documents pertaining to that in this Google Drive. Has Mvskoke Media sought an interview with Mayor Nichols or Amanda Swope? We have not. I haven't. I can't speak for everybody, but I haven't spoken to Mayor Nichols. I'm assuming that if you're talking about MCN v. Tulsa there, T.Y. Pearl, I'm assuming that if they do get a settlement out of this, we would see a statement come out of them. Contacting them while they're actively engaged in negotiation, he's just going to say, I'm in negotiation, I can't talk about it. This is what's going to happen. So let's see here. Where are we at? Speaking of those two things, let's take a look at our first... Where am I at? Okay. Also, I wanted to mention one more thing on this particular case. If you guys want to read the filings for the federal government against DA Iski or DA Ballard, they're in here. Also, Mvskoke Creek Nation. We can pop one of them up really quick. The reason I'm not going to go through them is because you guys have kind of heard these arguments all before. There's not anything that's new. It's just both sides of this are just, they're just saying, one side is saying one thing, and the other side is saying the other thing. And it's really, what it's coming down to is the district attorneys are just not going to recognize the McGirt decision or the Hooper decision. They're just saying, we're not going to do it. We're going to continue to prosecute, and that's the way it is. I think their tactic is every time one of these stories comes out, they're also having Governor Stitt make a PR statement on his Facebook and stuff like that. So I think they're just going to try to propaganda this, like as opposed to actually put up any arguments in court, because I wouldn't be surprised that this goes through. Let's take a look here at the next thing I wanted to talk about is we got a tip from a citizen on something that we missed, and that was that there was an embezzlement case involving a citizen named Regina Gibson and money that she embezzled from Duck Creek Indian community. So I wanted to take a look at those really quick. Let's take a look at the criminal information really quick. So here we can see Gibson Regina Janine, Mvskoke Creek female. This is her charging document, and she ultimately did a blind plea, which means she kind of threw herself on the mercy of the court and pled guilty, and then she was charged, and currently she has been sentenced to 2 years in prison with 7 years supervised probation, but this is what she was charged with. These are counts 1 through I think 16 here. Are uttering a forged instrument? Yes. Uttering a forged instrument, if you don't know, is basically like hot checks. So she was writing checks. Well, I think it actually describes it down here. Defendant within Mvskoke Creek Nation. Counts 17 and 18. Count 17 is theft and count 18 is embezzlement. Is a supplemental crime act felony. These are all felonies, but it's classified under 21 OS embezzlement. But defendant within Mvskoke Creek Nation on the day and year aforesaid did unlawfully appropriate the property or services of another without consent and with the intent to permanently deprive the person of the property and said to value in excess $500 and fraudulently obtained approximately $7,645 from the Duck Creek ceremonial grounds. I'm sorry, I said Indian community earlier. It's ceremonial grounds. Those are two separate things, so it's ceremonial grounds, guys. Duck Creek ceremonial grounds account in 26 checks in amounts of less than $500 with the intent to permanently deprive it of these funds. This crime is a felony punishable by imprisonment of up to 3 years and a fine of not more than $50,000. So let me go back here and I will, where is her judgment and sentence? This is her judgment and sentence where she pled guilty. And then you'll see here that all these counts say 3 years. And I think what happened is that they're going to have them run congruently, all those forged instrument charges, and that's why I think it ends up being 2 years in prison and 7 years supervised probation. But again, if you want to go into that, you can check that out. And then you were asking earlier, T.Y. Pearl, about Hauser. Oh, I should mention, let me mention the date here. So she was sentenced on September 20th, 2024. Or no, it says first day of July 2024. So that was last year, and I just wanted to get it on here so everybody can see that this is something we missed that got through the cracks, but a citizen said, hey, I heard about this. Will you guys look into it? So we did. Now, sorry, back to Hauser. This is Hauser's criminal charges, his information that's been filed. This was just filed. He is innocent until proven guilty, but this is what he's been charged with. So the Mvskoke Creek Nation Indian tribal government received benefits and federal assistance in excess of $10,000 during any 1 year period from July 1st, 2016 and the present. So that's just defendant Michael Anthony Hauser served as an agent of the Mvskoke Creek Nation from, on, or about June 6, 2011 to in and around March 2024. Specifically, the defendant served as an accounts payable manager for the Mvskoke Creek Nation Gaming Operations Authority Board from, on, or about January 14, 2014 until in and around December 2021. Defendant served as accounts payable manager for Mvskoke Nation Gaming Enterprises, LLC from in and around December 2021 until February 3rd, 2023, and later as a purchasing manager from on or about February 3rd, 2023 to in and around March 2024. And then they go into detail about what they are charging him with, beginning in and around July 2016 and ending around February 2024. Michael Anthony Hauser did embezzle, steal, obtain by fraud, and otherwise without authority, knowingly convert to the use of any person other than the rightful owner, and intentionally misapply property valued at $5,000 or more and is owned by, is under the care and control of Mvskoke Creek Nation. On October 16, 2023, in the Eastern District of Oklahoma and elsewhere, Michael Anthony Hauser did willfully make and subscribe a 2022 Form 1040 U.S. individual tax return, which contained and was verified by a written declaration that it was made under the penalties of perjury, in which he did not believe to be true and correct as to every material matter. So his tax return stated that the defendant knowingly reported an adjusted gross income of $471,237, whereas he then and there knew that this statement was false and that he failed to report $7,851,027. So he didn't report $7 million worth of income. It's probably what kicked off this investigation. They then go on to list property that got seized from him in order to make up this deficit. And let me keep scrolling down here. So that's basically, if you guys want to go through all of those items, there is a news story we have on our website about this story. There's going to be one about the Gibson story too. It's going to be in the paper and on the website. It just, the copy for it hasn't been approved yet, so it hasn't been posted. All right, where are we at? Okay, let me check the chat really quick. Oh, one more thing. You guys, we've talked about A.G. Weisner in the past, and a lot of people were not happy with A.G. Weisner's performance, and a lot of candidates in the last election said, I'm not going to reconfirm A.G. Weisner, and they got elected. So now, and then the process with A.G. Weisner getting put back up as an interim person month after month has continued on. Okay? So I wanted to point out to you guys, I don't know if you've been following this. I'm going to go to the National Council's website. If my computer will load it. I should have already had this loaded, but it's weird. It's taking a long time. There we go. I'm going to go to the agendas. I'm going to try to go to the agendas. Here we go. I'm going to go to 2025. And then we're going to go down and we're going to take a look at the quarterly session that just happened. And then we're going to scroll down to the bottom because, and this quarterly session happened on January 25th. Okay. There's going to be coverage, a separate story of this going forward, but it's something that's going to pop up in Lawyered Up. I almost guarantee that this is going to go to court. So if we look here, we see NCA 25-018, a law of the Mvskoke Creek Nation amending MCN Title 16, legitimate purposes for commissions to fill vacancies and entitled commissions no substitution for joint approval or of appointments, and creating new subsection entitled nominations. This was adopted, you can see there, 15-0, and it has the sponsor of almost everybody on the council. Okay, so if we click through to look at this, what this is this is legislation to try to address the situation, and you guys can look at this in depth too, but this is legislation to try to, or that's been passed, that went to Chief's desk. I'm sorry, it hasn't been passed. It went to Chief's desk to fix the problem of Chief bringing a nominee for a position, in this case A.G. Wisner, and then the council doesn't like that person, and so instead of confirming them, they say no, and instead of Chief bringing somebody else for that position, he just brings that person back and renominates them month after month, right? So they're trying to pass code that makes it so you can't do that, okay? That went to Chief's desk on the 25th of January, and then today was the deadline. So if you guys don't know how the legislation works, so after the council signs off, votes for a bill, Chief can just sign it right then, and it becomes a law. He can veto it whenever at any time, and then it'll go back to the council to see if they want to override the veto. Or if he does nothing, after 10 days, it will just become a law, even if he doesn't do anything at all. So the 10-day limit was today, right? And so we contacted them. We found out that Chief has vetoed this, and he's issued a statement about it. And you want to check that stuff out, it'll be in the coverage that we have up on this. But because Chief has vetoed this, I imagine, due to the number of co-sponsors, right, on this bill, because there's so many co-sponsors, I think they've already got the numbers to override his veto, and so they're probably going to override his veto, and then we'll probably see this come into tribal court if Chief wants to go that far. Chief's statement is basically that this law that the council is trying to pass is unconstitutional, so it probably needs to go to the Supreme Court. All right, that's everything I've got for today. Let me take a look at what's going on in the chat here. Michael Hauser, we covered. Strobel case, we don't have any updates for Strobel, but I can show you guys really quick how you check that. If you go Oklahoma Supreme Court, right? Boom. Let me make that full screen. You go to their website, there's whatever's, it'll pop up here. As soon as it's passed, it will pop up on this page. And you can bookmark it and just go there. That's what I do every day, check it. So we do not have a decision in that case. It's been over a year now. Tax time's coming again, in fact. And I imagine that's going to be an issue for a lot of people. Well, for citizens that work at the nation. Let's see here. What does your ruling on United Kiowa Band's jurisdiction on Cherokee Nation mean for the Mvskoke res considering tribal towns? I haven't read that one yet, TY Pro, but I'll check it out. I'm not familiar with the decision that came out on this. Let's see here. Is the MCN hiring spending freeze executive order still in effect? Yes, the executive order is still in effect. We have not received notification, and Chief has not sent out anything rescinding that order, or he hasn't issued a new order saying that the freeze is not happening. It's actually affecting us a little bit, and we might be doing a live stream on it next week because we have to pay to have the paper printed. And we have the printers gives us a grace period of something like, I think it was 60 days or 90 days or something, where they will go ahead and print it, but we've got to get them paid within that window. And so we're trying to figure out when we need to start talking to you guys, the audience, about what's going on with the paper, because we could get into a situation where the paper isn't able to get printed because we're not able to pay for it. We can try to get a special Chief's executive order has a thing in it that says if Chief says it's okay, they can certain funds can be expended. So maybe we'll try to do that. But keep an eye out for that next week or maybe the week after. We might do a live stream on it. I don't know. Let's see here. It's covering the Challenge Bowl and any news about Title VI or JOM Indian Education formula, grant programs, or funding being impacted by the presidential executive orders. We've got some questions out on those topics. I myself am not doing those stories, but I do know there's some reporters that are reaching out on that. I'll ask again, TY Prol, to see if I can get you some more information on that. Any news if the ACE program potentially in jeopardy from federal freezes or cuts? At this point, I mean, who knows how this is going to play out, Well, we know that the Trump administration rescinded their federal freeze, right? Chief Hill hasn't rescinded his order, and that's where we're at right now. So, but I imagine that this was going to get sorted out in the next few weeks. If you have questions about it, though, right now, reach out to your representative or reach out to Chief's office and say, hey, what's going on? Because that's what we're doing. Would you consider doing YouTube segment overview quarterly reports with Q&A after they are released each quarter? So I would consider doing anything. I will do anything, but the problem with that is I don't have anything to do with the information that's compiled in the quarterly reports, and I cannot vouch for its accuracy or truthfulness in any way. I would question information that comes out in the quarterly reports. That's kind of like what I'm trying to do. There's some stuff that's not in the quarterly reports that I would like to see, and we could do a show on that too, because there's some numbers that I would like to see reported, so that all citizens know exactly how much money we have. Is Mike Berryhill still CN liaison? Oh, I don't know. I haven't been following that story, honestly, and I know that we published a story on some allegations against him, but or not. Is it Mike Berryhill? It's the other Berryhill, I think. How come Creek Nation didn't get on board with the lawsuit against them? 2 AGs still arresting members. That we did get on board. That's the documents are in this Google Drive in the description of this video. You can check it out. This is why the editorial board should be broadcasting board meetings. Well, the problem with the editorial board broadcasting board meetings, and I don't want to speak for them, but they make their own decisions, and I don't have any sway over them one way or another. But I can tell you the problem with broadcasting them is they're just like if we have a personnel issue or anything like that, they're going to have to go into an executive session. And citizens can tune into those meetings and call into those meetings, and they can give their opinions on things, or if they see a problem with some coverage that they feel like wasn't addressed. If I was talking to a citizen that had a problem with some coverage that they didn't like how it was done, or that maybe they thought it was inaccurate, the proper procedure is to first go to the editor and talk to the editor about it. And if it's not addressed to your liking through the editor, then you can go to the editorial board. If everybody that has any type of wants to have an input on anything at the department goes straight to the editorial board, man, nothing's going to get done down here. That's the problem with it. If the editorial board broadcasts their board meetings, I don't think you're going to see what you're thinking you're going to see, because there's not that much stuff. It's mostly rubber stamping things. The department is still in a period where we're trying to rebuild the number of reporters that we have from the free press getting repealed. We're still not back at 100% staff, and that's really the main issue for us. If you are a citizen out there and you watch the news here and you want to get involved, we've got job openings here. You can apply and come and join the team. We can't do it right now because there's a hiring freeze, but when that comes off, it would just be helpful to know operational issues like not being able to pay your printer. Yeah, TY Prol, I agree with that too. But that's when we started discussing that here. That's why I was talking to Angel and others. I was like, hey, we should maybe do a live stream or something on this, because our issue is going to be if we get into a situation where we're close to the paper not getting printed and not going out the door. We've got to utilize our other avenues, our website, our social media, our YouTube, to tell the citizens, hey, you're not going to get a paper, and here's where you can go to get the information for right now till we fix this problem. But we should probably start that process ahead of time so that it's not a huge surprise. People can adapt where they go to get their information a little bit temporarily if they are told over time, hey guys, remember this deadline's coming. And also it gives citizens opportunity to talk to chief and say, hey, you need to cut out a special exemption to this executive order to get the paper printed, for instance, right? I honestly, my personal opinion is I think it's going to get resolved here. I think this is just, chief issued an executive order and they haven't thought to rescind it or anything yet. They're like, we're going to keep an eye on this and let it go as long as we can. But if they start getting a lot of complaints, or if they get a lot of citizens asking questions about why I can't do this or why I'm not getting my normal services, then I think they'll reverse course on it and issue a rescission or a modification to it at a minimum. I do want to point out one thing while we're talking about this spending freeze, is that chief issued this executive order, and you guys can check the news coverage. It's on our website, and chief has it on his page, I think, in relation to what Trump did. But there is an important disambiguation we need to make on funding. Some programs are funded by federal funding, like HUD or the IHS. They receive federal funding, and if that federal funding ever gets frozen for whatever reason, then they can't operate. Now, if IHS wasn't subject to that, and HUD wasn't supposed to be subject to that. Our operation here at Mvskoke Media, like all our budget, we have two sources of money that comes in. One of them is the gaming budget, which is revenues from the casino. So revenues from the casino goes in the controller office, and we get our budget paid for through that. And then we also have a revolving fund that is money from things that we sell in the department, like our merchandising and the print operation we have in the back, the money that comes back in, and that's held in a revolving account that we can use for stuff. There's not that much money in it, and it's more that's like we're trying to do cost saving measure to recoup some of our spending. Where will Mvskoke Media's new building be located? What will be impacted by any of this? So where will Mvskoke Media's new building be located? Okay, so we don't know. We've been told that our building is going to be demolished. We've been told that it's going to happen at different times or not to worry about it and everything. I myself personally have been moved 2 times here at the Creek Nation. When I first started, we were being moved out of the Solomon McCombs building. Communications was there. We got moved into the old Head Start, and then we got moved out of the old Head Start into this building. And both of those times, there wasn't really any notification. They were just like, you need to move, get out now. So I'm not expecting too much notification. We have been told that our building is on the list of buildings that's going to be redone. Or I don't know if they're actually going to rebuild the building. I think they are, I'm not for sure. But they're definitely going to destroy the building that's here. We are trying to get some office space in the Tulsa area, and then I think they're going to move the print operation, and we're going to keep an Okmulgee office, so there'll be some staff here for the news side, and the print side is the plan right now. But that group of people is going to be subject to wherever they can find space, I think they're talking about moving them over to the building where the language program used to be. I can't remember the name of that building. Anyway, but we haven't been told anything for sure yet. We're in all of our contracts and everything to get any space anywhere else is all frozen right now because of that executive order. Let me see here. Did the Mvskoke media lawyer get hired before the freeze took effect? My understanding is we do not yet have a lawyer. We have the ability to get a lawyer, but we don't have one yet, is my understanding. I haven't been told about it, and I'm looking to be told because there's some stuff that I want to talk to the lawyer about to see if I can get some stuff filed for everybody. I don't know if that's going to work, if they're going to let me do that. But Jinx Riverwalk still has vacancies. I know years ago we were going to have a studio in Jinx Riverwalk, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like I said, guys, I'm just a grunt level guy, and I kind of have to do what I'm told in certain situations, but it's been an issue for a long time. I think Jinx would be a great place to have an office, because it's right there next to all of the things that we report on. I think our game plan right now overall for the whole department after this construction starts here is, or what I think would be cool, and I've pitched it up the food chain and it's got good reviews, is to say, if we could have an office in Eufaula, if we could have an office at the Southern Regional Office, right, for South I-40 guys, and had maybe 1 or 2 reporters in all of those places. Out in Oklahoma City, maybe we could have 1 or 2 reporters. Have some reporters in Tulsa, spread our correspondence out over and try to hire some people that are some citizens that are in those communities. It's going to make the reporting even better because you'll have people that are there, because that's one of the issues that we have a lot of is, the reservation's big and you got to travel here, there, and everywhere else. So, but we'll see if it ends up that way. That we've got to find the people that can do the job, right? That's the most important thing. And there are some writing qualifications. You need to be able to write, but also me as somebody who's been doing it a long time, I would also like to see people get hired that have the gusto for it, that are like, they want to hold the government accountable, and they want to get justice for the citizens and those type of things, as opposed to maybe somebody who just isn't a citizen and they've got a PR degree or something like that. They just want to punch a clock and put out a story about a groundbreaking or something. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but we can do those stories. And so we'll see how it works out. And we've gone over time a little bit, but I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Upcoming stuff next week on Friday, I have a meeting with Chris Asbell and the guys over at the college. We're planning season 2 of the gardening show. If you guys have any input on what you want to see from the gardening show or anything like that, send me an email. My email is jmore@mvskokemedia.com, and say, hey, I'd like to see this in there. I think for season 2, this is our first meeting. We haven't talked about it a lot, but what I would like to do is take it out of the extension garden and go to like a different citizen's garden every week, right? That would be cool, is to see. We've covered a lot of the basic stuff you do in the garden with season 1. And to go out into the community and see what citizens are doing, I think would be a cool show. If you guys want, but like I said, if you guys have any requests for that or any ideas for that, send it to me before the 14th, because the 14th is our first meeting where we're going to talk about that. Now, I will say, we were talking about the spending freeze. That program is an extension program, and that's one of the things that was on the list for Trump's federal freeze. And also it's still on the list for the Trump administration to review. They have this long list. I think we're going to be publishing it, where we've taken all of the Native American grants and things out of the list. I don't know if it's gotten published yet. We're still working on it, I think. But basically, there's a whole bunch of federal grants and funding for Native American things that are going to get reviewed by the Trump administration to see if they can delete them, if they want to delete them. And one of them is extension programs for community colleges. And so, and that's how the gardening show and all that stuff happens, is through that 1994 land grant extension office. All right. Cover the river cane planted at Loop Squared. I didn't know they planted river cane there. I will pitch that idea. That sounds cool. So that being said, also I want to remind you guys, don't forget Supreme Court oral arguments, Creek Nation Supreme Court oral arguments are on the 21st in that the constitutionality of that law. And that case has frozen all these other cases. So the Friedman case at the Creek Supreme Court is on stay, and then there's a bunch of other federal cases that are on stay because of that. So, but with that being said, I don't think there is anything else. T.Y. Pearl's asking me, how might College of Mvskoke Nation be impacted? Well, they could lose their extension program if the Trump administration decides that they don't want to fund those land grant things for certain areas, or how, whatever who knows what they would decide. They would write crazy orders. He could revoke that, and then that would be gone. Muskogee history. We would love to see something about the pre-maize domesticates our ancestors used. Okay, cool. Like more like kind of an archaeological thing, I guess. You know, like looking at pre-European contact stuff. Food sovereignty. I will pitch that. We will try to get something like that made. I don't see any more questions popping up, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. It's 5:11, and I'm gonna head home, and we might have a live stream up at the start of next week about this Chief's executive order. I don't know if we're gonna do it next week or the week after. And with that being said, I appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to my long, lengthy rambling. It goes on and on. And feel free to peruse all of the documents that's in this Google Drive. There's a lot of interesting stuff in there. And I will see you guys next time, all right? Mado Hadum, Chihichat Lis.